Hey everyone, Reaper here again with another video. This is another episode of Why Did I Buy This Book? Now the first video, I wouldn't even say this is a series. It might be a mini-series. Every now and then I want to talk about a certain book and why I bought it. The first episode dealt with the Eternals. The Eternals #1. I bought 2 copies of that right around the time, I think it was like the day after they were announced that the Eternals were going to be in a film. This is going back a few years ago. I bought both copies and I got them for cheap. And after that they started to slowly climb, and I had one of them graded and one of them came back a 9.6, and I think my other copy is like a 7.5, maybe an 8.0. And I talked about why I bought them, because I bought them to sell them. I mean, I might keep the 7.5 for myself because I didn't pay hardly anything for it. But eventually I'll sell that 9.6 when I think the time is right. But that's why I bought it. Now here is another episode. But the reasoning behind me buying this particular book is different than the Eternals #1. So let me show it to you. It's something you've seen before on this channel. Albedo 2. This book I bought back in 2016, and it didn't show up in a haul video until February 2017. I think that's maybe comic book haul number 19. That haul is no longer available on my channel. I hit a glitch with it, and it's no longer available. So it's a rare video. But I've had it for a few years, this book. So why did I get it? Why is this book in my collection? Did I get this for the sole purposes of selling it? No, it's a little different than Eternals #1. But there are a couple reasons behind it. #1, I like Usagi Yojimbo. It's the first appearance of Usagi Yojimbo. And I remember him, as I think many of us do, from the Ninja Turtles cartoon that was in the 80s and the 90s. He would appear every now and then as an ally of the Turtles, and that's where I first found out about him, like a friend or an ally to the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and I was a big Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles fan. And I still enjoy them. I'm not as big a fan as I was back then when I was a kid, but they're some of the most recognizable comic book characters, independent comic book characters in the world. And Usagi was with them. So that was one of the main reasons why I wanted that book. #2, another reason why I have this book in my collection is because it's rare. There's only 2,000 of them in the world. Only 2,000 of them. Now, the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles #1 is pretty rare too, and more sought out. This is I've often heard the term, this is a poor man's Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles #1 first print, and that's probably true. But this is actually rarer than Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles #1. It's not as sought out, okay, not by a long shot, but it's definitely rare. There's only 2,000 in the world, and it's pretty cool knowing that out of the 2,000 of these that are known to exist, I have one of them. And that's, to me, really awesome. It's to have something that rare. And #3, although I don't see myself selling it anytime soon, but it's nice to know that I could sell this book or trade this book for something bigger, or put it toward something bigger if I wanted to. If I said to myself one day, I think I'll just part with the Albedo 2, it's no big deal, I really want X, or I really want Y. This will give me the ability to do that. As I heard someone say, it could be called trade bait, or whatever, to get something you really, really want. Whatever that is. I don't know what that is right now. There's a couple of things I really, really want, but I'm not going to go into specifics because it's the very last option on why I bought it. I'm quite happy with having Albedo 2. The first 2 reasons I gave you why I have it are the main reason why it's still in my collection. I like Usagi, and I think it's really cool to have a rare book like that. There are other rare books, in the hobby that are not so valuable. And, if you like having rare books, there's a lot of people that like to collect rare books. There's a ton of them. I think some of those, the Milk and Cheese #1 is kind of rare, nowhere near as sought out, of course. And there are other types of books out there, some books that I don't even know about that are rare, but there are comic book collectors that are rare collectors. They like to collect the rarest stuff. And this, to me, is one of those books that is nice to have in your rare collection. And that's the reason why I have this in my collection. And the reason why I sought it out. A little story before I go. You know, it's not meant to be a long video. It's just a little explanation why Albedo 2 is in the collection. Why'd you get that one? You mainly collect Marvel stuff and some DC. What's with Albedo? I remember I started toying around with getting this book back in 2015. It was the summer of 2015, and eBay had one for sale. It was a restored, I think, 7.0, and it had a color touch on it. And it was affordable. You know, this book right now is kind of expensive. I mean, it's nowhere near as expensive, again, as Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, but it's pretty expensive. And back then, I bought mine in 2016. When I bought mine in 2016 and earlier, it was kind of pricey, but nowhere near as pricey as it is today. So anyway, I was considering buying that restored copy and maybe removing the rest or having the restoration removed and probably accepting the fact that the 7.0 would go down to a 5.0 and be done with it. I would have my rare Albedo number 2. I have the first appearance of Usagi Yojimbo, and again, I have one of these books where there are only 2,000 of them in the world. So I thought long and hard about it, and I said, you know what, the hell with it. So fast forward to 2016, a little over a year. They were toward the fall of 2016. 2 copies popped up, and I said, "Ooh!" And this one looked to me to be about an 8. An 8.0. And it wasn't that much more than the restored copy a year earlier. So I said, you know, maybe I should go and get this. It looks to be about an 8. It looks pretty good. I don't think there's restoration on it. So I took the chance and I got it. And I paid like a fraction of a fraction of a fraction of what it's going for right now. So I got it. It looked great, and I said to myself, you know, let me get this thing CGC'd. It took a couple years for me to do that, but eventually I did. And the 8 turned out to be a 9, and I didn't even have this press, so maybe it's actually a 9 too. Who knows? But anyway, the seller, I was talking to the seller, and he asked me, okay, yeah, I have 2 copies of this. You got the better grade, you know, the better grade of the 2. I have a 6.0 copy. Do you know anybody that might want a 6.0 Albedo 2? And I said, for all the things I told you throughout this video, it's, you know, it's a niche type of thing. You know, not a lot of people are after this, or at least back then. I don't even know how many people are after it now. And I said, no, I can't think of anybody that I know that would want an Albedo 2. And he's like, oh, okay. And he was selling it for a couple $100 less. So I said, oh. Looking back on that, hindsight, I should have been the one to buy that, and I should have had that graded and then sell it, or use that as definite trade bait. You know, where I said my reason 3 is maybe I'll sell this one day, maybe I'll trade it for something. But if I would have gotten 2, that would have been the sole reason why I would have got that. I should have done that. I should have been thinking ahead, because he was selling it really cheap. I mean, it was several $100s. Yeah, so I don't mean to make it sound like it was $100, or he didn't know what he had. He knew what he had, but in hindsight, I should have gotten it. So, long story short, too late. That's why I have Albedo 2 in my collection. I really like it. It's a great book. Now I hear that Usagi's going to have his Netflix show. Who knows if that's going to be a success or not. It doesn't matter. I bought the book years ago because I like Usagi. So what are some books that... what were some of the main reasons why you bought a particular book in your collection? Similar to the story I told you about Albedo. I'd be interested in hearing. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.